Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Keys. We are back today with another video, and despite me being in front of my beautiful Christmas tree spray printed by me, this is not a Christmas vlog. I was so determined to do Vlogmas this year, but my life is not yet as calm as I need it to be. So we're just going to film as much as possible in regards to the Christmas season, and then we're just going to do one big vlog at the end of the month. Yeah, so that's Vlogmas that is not happening, but today's video I feel like I need to do. I've been needing to do this video for a while. It has been on my heart for years, but I'm just now mentally, emotionally prepared to talk about it. And for other reasons, I don't think I was able to talk about it because of the situation. So yeah, today is going to be an episode of Being Married Young. If you noticed the title, and it's going to be probably one of my most intense videos. Just a look into my life, a look into why I started this channel, a look into why I'm essentially the person that I am today. Yeah, so just a little history of why I started this channel, and why I started Being Married Young on this channel is because it was birthed from being in an abusive relationship. Trigger warning, we will be talking about abuse, all the forms of abuse: sexual, mental, emotional, physical. We will be talking about it. So if that is very triggering for you, please click out now. I don't want to trigger anybody, and if you're not there ready to face certain things, I don't, want to expose you to my experience, so please click out. All right, I should have said that first. But yeah, so it was triggered by being in an abusive marriage. A lot of people think that abuse is just you getting your ass beat. And unfortunately, the system actually looks at abuse in the same manner. Abuse to a lot of people is getting thrown around, getting punched, getting hit, getting kicked, spit on, slapped, just things that can be seen on camera, things that can be documented as proof. Nobody really thinks of abuse as me being called a bitch throughout my entire pregnancy, being gaslit, being told how useless I am and how I was always the problem. Nobody looks at those things as abuse, and from personal experience, the amount of therapy that I have gone through and still go through today proves how warped my mind became being with a narcissist, being with somebody who wants to feel so empowered and enjoys watching other people be in pain. It really fucked up my mind. Thank God that I am way further today than I was 5 years ago, because that version of me, I just, we're not supposed to have regrets, but that is my only regret in life, was getting married to that person, because I would be in a completely different space if I hadn't. And I know that the world likes us to forgive, forget, and move on, but I can't do that. I can't erase the things that happened to me. I can't erase the memories. I can only grow from them and try to educate myself more, educate my daughter of what certain things look like, educate her on having boundaries, educate her on body autonomy, learning how to say no, learning to listen to her gut, her feelings, validating them, so that God forbid she run across this type of person, she's like, yo, I've seen this before and I know that this is not good, and can make the decision to stray from it, because I wasn't able to. Growing up, I was very much protected. The person that I married also happened to be exactly like my biological father. My biological father was abusive. He wasn't really a part of my life. He is still not the type of person to take responsibility for his actions, the damage he's done, and the damage that he has caused. And I grew up, despite having a stepdad, who I never acknowledged as my stepdad, but my dad, despite having a beautiful person to raise me, I still have daddy issues, and that is because I watched my biological father take care of 3 kids. The kids that he had with my stepmom. I watched him raise them, knowing that he had 3 other kids before he had those 3 kids. So he had 6, but he only raised 3 of them. He was only part of 3 of their lives. He only attended 3 of their games or their activities, and he never called. There was no birthday, there was no message. He never flew out to visit us, and he didn't help raise us. So that really skewed my image of love. And I always questioned why I wasn't worthy of being loved. Like, why doesn't dad love me? Like, why doesn't he try? Why doesn't he call me? And in my mind, I was like, maybe I have to prove to him that I'm worthy. Maybe he doesn't know, because he's not around. So maybe he just doesn't know, and I have to prove. And that's where little Kiara fucked up. Like, she didn't know any better, but that's where she fucked up, because from then on, I always felt like I had to prove myself in relationships. I did not have confidence in stuff when I started dating. So it was that point where I was just like, I felt like I always had to shell out. I felt like I always have to prove it. I felt like in order for a man to love me, I had to do the things that they said, because it would make them love me more. It would make them want to stay. It would make them want to be everything for me. Like, maybe if I was everything for them first, if I was obedient, if I listened, that they would want to be with me. And maybe if I'm sweet and kind and all of those things, that they'll be sweet and kind to me. But people prey on those types of people, and I hate to say it, but people prey on kind, naive people, and that's what I was. Like, that's the girl that I was. And so I found myself, now that I look back, I found myself dating men who were narcissistic, manipulative, controlling. A lot of these men also had their own parental issues, their own mommy issues, their own daddy issues. So I was always trying to prove myself, but always trying to heal these traumas that they had on themselves, not knowing that I needed healing, not knowing that I needed to heal from my own father issues. And so fast forward to this marriage. So I will be the first to say that I take responsibility. I got married way too fucking quick. I think we dated and got married in like 6 months or less. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. I don't recommend that at all, because it just fell to shit. But like, I think my whole life I kind of had it in my head that people are like, marry your opposite, marry your opposite, marry your opposite. Even though like all of the men that I tried to date were men that I had a lot of things in common with. And my ex-husband is my polar opposite. I like to be at the gym. He doesn't like to work out. I like to be outside in nature and go exploring. He likes to be at home on the video games. You know, nothing against that. It's just I'm not a TV electronic type of person. I like to experience things. And that person just could not be more of my opposite than anybody I know. So I married really quickly, and it was like night and day. The person that I married was not the person that I was dating. The person that I married isolated me. The person that I was married to went through my phone and was like, you can't be with friends with this person, this person, this person. You need to delete this person off of social media. You need to delete this person off of social media. Also, you go to the gym too much. And I specifically remember him saying that because I went to the gym so much, he went, you're spending way too much time at the gym. When you're at the gym, you're gone for a long time, and just what was the point of me marrying you if you're gone? I might as well have stayed a single parent. And so shortly after that, I stopped going to the gym. I might have went on my lunch, just because at the time we were both active duty, and military has very, very strict height and weight requirements. Clearly, I don't fit them. Back then, I barely did. I always had to get taped because, I always been fit. You know what I'm saying? But, I had to keep my weight, my fat and everything just at a certain requirement to pass weight and tape and PT tests. Even yet and still, I stopped going to the gym as frequently. And that's when I started feeling sick internally. To just go into depth, at the time I did not know how to listen to my inner voice. I did not know how to listen to my gut, but they definitely sent me red flags prior to getting married. So stopped going to the gym, stopped talking to certain people. And at the time, I didn't really have friends in Augusta because I had just gotten there stationed after leaving Korea. So everything I knew, everybody I knew, it was completely different. And within the first 6 months of being married, I was being raped. I was being forced to have sex despite me saying no. I was being forced to engage in acts that I did not want to engage in, just because that person wanted to do them. And I never thought that marital rape was a thing. And I actually did not know that I was being raped until roughly 2 years after I was married. Somebody told me, and I was like, oh, I thought that when you're a wife or you're a husband or you're married, or that you're just supposed to do it just because that's what your spouse wants you to do. And so even though I remember me saying no, I thought that it was still my duty as a wife, that I was supposed to. Completely ignoring the fact that after he would get to sleep, I would get up and take a shower because I felt disgusting, or I would go sleep in the guest room because I just felt so I felt so used, and I felt like a used tampon or a used condom or some shit. It was just, I just felt sick to my stomach. And eventually, it continued. He would come after he'd get out of a dungeon on a video game. Despite me trying to spend time with him, he would just wave me off until he would come in the room after video games between 12 and 2 and would be like, hey, you up? Obviously, I'm not awake because we have to wake up at 6 a.m. for PT. But he would do that, and I would be like, no. And then he'd be like, let's whatever. And then I'd be like, no, we have PT, or no, we have to wake up baby girl for, daycare or whatever, because I was the person who took care of everything in the morning. And because I used to be a morning person before I became a mom. And he'd be like, you don't have to even do anything. All you gotta do is just later. And he would chuckle. And then despite me saying anything, it would happen. And that's when my gut, it was going off, because I was not pregnant with Lottie yet. I was still heavily on my birth control because I was not ready for a child. And I would go home monthly, or every 2 or so weeks. My sister is calling me, I'll call her back. And I would go home because I needed to get away. But being raised, and I don't know if it's just a Black experience, because that is the only experience I know, but being raised in the Black experience, it was what happens in the house stays in the house. So what was happening in that house stayed in the house, because I wasn't taught how to use my voice. I wasn't taught how to speak, how to speak up in the manner that I do now. I taught myself this, and I would just go home and I'd be like, I'm so miserable. I don't like it. I'm sad and I don't know why I'm sad. And I would just be told, you know, marriage, the first 3 to 6 years are the hardest. They make or break you. And I was like, okay. And I would go back feeling so defeated. So just like, but God, I am not religious. I believe in God. I define myself as somebody who is spiritual, and it is nothing less than God that I was saved, because during that moment, this person was injured. After one of our, like, we were out in the field and then we came back and unloading equipment, was injured. And like, I was so happy. Dude, I was so happy. Like, I know it looks crazy, like, listening to it. I was so fucking happy because it meant that this person could not touch me. I didn't have to do anything. They were so injured to the point where they had to have surgery. They were on a whole bunch of medication, like Percocet, not Molly, but like Percocets and hydrocodones and, you know, the shit that knock you out, right? Was on that type of medication. And I was just like, it was so nice. So they would be drugged up, and I started going back to the gym. Like, I just start like trying to get back to me. It was just really nice. I mean, it was stressful because I was in charge of their medication while they were on leave, but it was internally, I was like beaming because I just felt like a little sense of like freedom getting back to Kiara, or getting back to Redmond. That's my maiden name. Getting back to Redmond. So after that, I mean, a couple months later, this person healed, and then they got orders to Korea. And around the time they got orders to Korea, I found out that I was pregnant. An unexpected pregnancy, because I wanted to wait to have Lottie. I wanted to wait to have a baby, period. Obviously, I didn't know it was going to be my best friend. But I wanted to wait to have a baby because, like, at the time before I was pregnant, I was just really getting the body, my dream body, because I deal with body dysmorphia. But by technicality, I was getting to my dream body, and I was the strongest, the most flexible I've ever been. I had my own schedule. Like, I really enjoyed my job in the Army. I was starting to make friends. Like, I was just really in as good a place as I could have gotten mentally. And then I got pregnant, and then 2 weeks later we found out that they were going to Korea. Another thing that I think that saved me, because despite me having a very traumatic pregnancy, I got to have this pregnancy away from this person, and mentally this is when I started figuring out something is really fucking wrong. I can't put my hand on it, but something is wrong. Because this person wasn't in my face, it wasn't in my space. So I started talking back to my friends. I started trying to be at the gym more, because like during my first trimester, it was garbage. If you've ever been pregnant, you're not really in control of your body, despite what it looks like in pregnant women working out on Instagram. Like, I tried so hard, but I was pregnant. I was taking care of his child from a previous marriage. I was active duty Army. I was also in school, so I had gone back to school around all the time that these things were happening. So just to skirt through my pregnancy, I was mentally and emotionally abused my entire pregnancy. This person was not there for me. They would be out in Korea getting drunk, being mad that I would call. And so towards the end, I was like, if this person is mad that I'm calling them because I feel alone, or I feel this type of way, or I'm having trouble with my pregnancy, or I'm stressed and they're treating me like this, stop calling them, because all you're gonna do is get your feelings hurt. Which is a terrible way, because like, you're supposed to be in a partnership during pregnancy, and that's not what it was at all. So they're out living their best life in Korea, and I'm home struggling. And I was like, cool. So this is when I was like, okay, started going into trying to find a therapist, like really hard. I started med boarding around this time, while also facing my own separate trials while being in the Army, because, you know, the Army is not as straight cut as people like to think. Like, the billboards and the commercials, that ain't what it is. So it was just so much stacked up against me. This person asked, could they come home for the birth? I was like, no, that's a waste of money. I didn't want them there. I'm glad that they were not there. Had Lottie. And immediately, like, the protective warrior mom spirit popped into me. And I think this is when I was like, I gotta change some shit. Because if I don't, my daughter is going to watch me be miserable. I'm going to be miserable. And as somebody who deals with anxiety and depression and who has dealt with suicide ideation, I was like, she's not going to have a mom. Because I'm not going to be here if I stay with this person. Like, this relationship could kill me. So while that person was where they were in Korea, my mind was just going like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So in 2017, I moved out for the first time because I was just like, still not confident in my gut. I was like, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping, but I moved out and it was the best experience of my life. I had never been on my own like that. And even though I wasn't really on my own because I was a mom, it was still like my space, like it was my own. And when I came home, I didn't have to walk on eggshells. I didn't have to people please. I didn't have to watch what I was saying so that it didn't set this person off. Like, the way that narcissists function, they are not used to rejection. They are not used to people trying them. They're not used to having bounce back. And that's because the way that narcissists are set up, they're very charming, they're very lighthearted, they're very outspoken, they're very like, you gravitate toward their personality. They come off as good people, they come off as very like kind and smooth talkers, but behind the scenes, that's not who they are. But that's the only person that I knew. And so the person that I knew was the person making me sick. So when I got out for the first time on my own, it was so nice. Like, I just felt so good, and I wish I would have stayed out. I was manipulated to coming back in, and I went. And it wasn't for him, or it wasn't for that person. It was so that the kids could continue to have a roof over their head, because that person stopped getting paid at one point. So I was taking care of the bills at my now home and at this person's home. So I was doing everything financially. 2018, Christmas, we were with their family, and that's when my stomach issues started getting really bad. So if you don't know, I have SMA syndrome. Basically, an artery in my stomach has collapsed onto my duodenum, and the blood flow in my stomach is very, very slow, and I have issues with my digestion. I'm always nauseous, always bloated. It's a whole thing. So that's when my stomach issues started really bad. And then I just remember one night, like putting Lottie to sleep, I was like, God, it was just this prayer. It was like, God, if I'm supposed to stay here, give me a sign. If I'm not supposed to stay here, give me a sign. And that was it. We ended up going home. And hell broke loose. And I mean, hell broke loose, okay? So we're approaching New Year's. I decided to go out with my sister and my friend and her husband, because like, I never get out. Like, even now, I really don't leave my home. And there's reasons to that, but I'm really like an introvert homebody, especially if there's like not a lot of nature around, but that's neither here nor there. So I get out, and any New Year's that I've tried to spend with this person, they've been drunk. So I was like, okay, well, I want to make it back to the house by midnight so I can have a midnight kiss. Because still to this day, I've never had a midnight kiss. That's cheesy, but that's what I wanted. So there ended up being a situation where I didn't get back to the house on time. And this person called and made me feel like shit and was like, oh, well, shit, since you out here doing what you want to do, well, I'm finna do what I want to do anyway. And just like scolded me. So then I get back to the house, and I had got this person something to eat, put their food on the table, but I was like, look, I don't want to talk. Leave me alone. That's it. So I'm trying to like finish my food or whatever, and this person, my mom calls it poking the bear. I'm a very calm person. I'm a very quiet person. Unless you know me, then I talk a lot, but like upon exposure, I'm a very quiet person. And my poking the bear essentially means like there's a bear sleeping and you keep bothering it and you keep bothering it and you keep poking it. Eventually this bear is going to wake up. The bear woke up, and so I said things that I still mean to this day. To this day, I meant what the fuck I said. Said things, and then this person called the police on me because I said I'm leaving and I'm taking my child. So he made it seem like I was threatening him, but I never did anything to him. I never put my hands on him. I never like threw anything at him, but you know, so the police left. That was the second to last incident. And then the last incident was this person put their hands on me. And this is like the first time it's like I'm saying this like for real out loud, like whew, this person after we were arguing, and they pushed me up against the shower because I slammed the door after they slammed the door, because like I said, we were arguing. So this person pushed me up against the shower, and he had like his forearm on my neck and was cussing me out. And so now I'm trying to fight this person off. I tried to kick them in the ding dong, and I was like scratching this person, like I'm trying to like claw my way out because my phone was on the kitchen. My phone was in the kitchen on the charger. Jesus. So I'm trying to get to my phone. I just gotta get to my phone. Lottie was in the bath. His other child was in her room doing what children do. And so he's like trying to push me into the closet. He successfully pushes me into the closet because the walk-in closets were in the bathroom. And is trying to close the door on me so that I can't get out. But like the locks are inside the bathroom, so there was no way that I couldn't get out. But he's trying to keep me for whatever reason, and so I sink to the floor, and I'm trying to claw my way out. And as I'm trying to claw my way out, he takes his thigh, and the bathroom door, or the bathroom, like the entrance is right here. So his thigh, the bathroom, and then so my neck is right here, and he's like pushing his thigh against me. So now I'm like going unconscious, and I can't breathe. And he finally is like, oh, I didn't know you couldn't breathe. And so I dropped to the floor, and he finally lets me out the bathroom like this. I don't know how long this was going on. It felt like forever. I ran to get my phone. I ran out of the garage. I called my parents. I called my sister. My parents were in Atlanta. My sister was at my townhouse currently house sitting, and she came over there ready to fight. I wish I would have let her fight, but I didn't. Stupid. So that's what happened. And there was a person who was actually spending the night, but she was out somewhere, and I texted her, this just happened. And when she read it, she heard and came back. However, I will say I'm extremely disappointed in this person and multiple people who knew that I was being abused and was like, hey, I want to do with it. That ain't none of my business. Don't tell us shit. I just feel like that's weak as fuck. In case you see this video, I feel like that's weak as fuck. So now he's acting like he didn't do anything, and he's walking around with his hands up, went to sleep with the room door locked like I was gonna do some shit. Like he didn't just attack me. Slept on the couch. He left early the next morning. I started packing my shit. I was actually on the phone with his friend telling him what the fuck happened when he came back home. But by then, all of me and Lottie stuff was packed. Prior to this, I was already planning on leaving. It just expedited my leave. When I moved back into the townhouse, like I didn't have no furniture. I was sleeping on the floor. Lottie was the only person with some furniture, which is fine, because I would do it again in a heartbeat. I don't mind sleeping on the floor if it means that I'm going to wake up and be in a peaceful home. Hey, so it is Kiara from the future. Kind of not really. It's like a couple days later. I'm editing this vlog now and my camera died when I was filming it, and the last thing I mentioned was I would move out in a heartbeat all over again while sleeping on the floor, which is still true. Like, despite not having confidence, not feeling sure that I could do this, not just believing in myself, at the time it's a decision that I would make over and over again for the safety of myself, for the safety of my child, and just knowing that we deserved better, even if at that time I did not feel like I was worthy. Like, I will always make that decision because I feel like it was not going to get better the longer that I stayed there. So I just wanted to pop in and kind of clarify that part, because it did die and I was not aware that it died exactly off at that spot, in order to caveat into this next section. So yeah. So, like, I know I am beautiful. I know that I am smart. I know that I am amazing in all the ways. I know that even at this area of my life, I still deserve good things. And it took me years to really build on myself. Because being with that person, it increased my anxiety. It increased my depression. There were multiple times in the marriage where I dealt with suicidal thoughts, where I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I just thank God every day that despite not really being ready to be a mom, that he gave me Lottie, because Lottie is a reincarnation of my great-grandmother, who was my everything. She was my heavenly angel. And when Lottie was born, it was her in a bottle. It was like she was like, okay, your mom needs you now. And she let her go. And she gave her to me. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me, despite how hard being a mom is, despite how hard being a single mom is, despite how hard I am on myself, despite how emotional it can be. I'm so thankful that I was given her, that I was handpicked, I was chosen to be her mom. And the way that I'm coping now is starting from the moment that I left, after doing my best to get down to like what was going on with my stomach, because it took a couple years to figure out what my stomach disease was. Mentally, like going to therapy, emotionally just surrounding myself, grounding myself has been super important. I started really delving into spirituality. I had a spiritual awakening around, what was it, 2020? Like last year I had my spiritual awakening. It was the best thing that could have happened to me. Also the best thing that could have happened to me. This journey, man, it's been insane. I had to learn myself, not relearn. I had to learn myself because I got married around 22. So I really didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know like my passions. I didn't know my path. I just knew that there were things that I loved to do, but I didn't really understand my life mission. And so after I left, I spent so much time like just learning about myself, learning about my core, learning about the things that led me to this place. I started healing my daddy issues. I started healing the things that this person did to me. I started there's so much uncomfortability happened during these last 5 years, these last 5 or 6 years now, that brought me to this place. Like, I really just invested in myself. I've more than ever now, I understand why it has been so important not to just jump back into relationships. Like, I feel like I've always tried to be that person, but it never played out that way. But I didn't jump back into any relationships. Like, I left in 2018. I still haven't been in a solid relationship. Like, I've gone on dates here and there, but I haven't committed to another person since that marriage, because I just was like, I need to know who Kiara is. I need to know about her because I don't really know shit. Like, I didn't know what my decorating style was. I didn't know that my inner child, I didn't even know what an inner child was 5 years ago. I didn't know that she needed to be loved and nurtured and cradled and forgiven and apologized to because of the things that she's seen, the things that happened to her, the things that she's kept a secret. You know, I didn't know that she needed that. Like, my nose is itching. I really spent that amount of time cultivating who I am as a person. And just really like being selfish, because I never allowed myself to be selfish. I never allowed myself just to think about myself. Because we're constantly told that being selfish is a no-no, but in the right instances, you actually need to do that. And even more so now that I'm a mom, you have these people who are like, oh, it's not about you, it's about the baby, and you gotta think about the baby, and what are you doing, like investing in yourself. But newsflash, if I'm not okay, my daughter is not going to be okay. If I'm not happy, my daughter's not going to be happy. If I am mentally ill and suffering in my anxiety and my depression, my daughter is not going to be okay. I have to make myself a priority so that my daughter can live her best life. Okay? Okay. So now that, like, I just feel like I have to tell this because, like, I officially was divorced, child custody done on October 29th, 2020. So, you know, it's a celebration. So if you have any party planning ideas, let me know. I'm going to show up for 30 minutes and then go introvert somewhere else. But I'm going to show up though. And the fact that I turned 30, I feel like all of this is monumental. All of this happened at the right time, the right reason, the right season. And I just feel like God is doing so much in my life. And I just want to encourage other people to focus on yourself. Like, especially when you're leaving this type of relationship, you gotta be your biggest fan, because a lot of shit ain't gonna make sense to other people because they don't know what you had to deal with. They don't have any clue what was going on behind closed doors. A lot of stuff my family didn't find out until I posted it on Facebook. Nobody knew, because I didn't know like how to bring that up in regular conversation. I just needed to speak. I needed to say things without being cut off. I needed to say things without feeling judged. I needed to just get it off my chest because I was dealing with a lot of guilt. I was dealing with a lot of guilt with not making the right decisions in the partner that I chose and the father that I chose for my daughter, and the fact that I feel like I failed for a long time. For a long time, I felt like I failed because I came from a one-parent home. My mom was a single mom for a very long time. And I was like, I'm trying to break generational curses, and here you are living the same life that your mom lived for a long time, where now Lottie's gonna need a step parent. You know, I actually look forward to being married again. I couldn't say that for a long time, but I actually look forward to being in somebody's armpit for 30 years. And I was like, fuck, like I waited to marriage to have a child, like they said, and I still failed. So I dealt with that for a long time. Now I don't think I failed. Now I just think that I made a decision based off of the place in life that I was at. And it wasn't a good decision, but here we are. And I just have to make better ones from this day forward. So if you're in this type of relationship, I strongly encourage you to get out. Make a plan, obviously. Gather people around you. Open up about your story. If there is other forms of abuse in the way that I experienced it, please report it. Please report it, no matter how scary it is, no matter how embarrassing it is, because had I reported it the moment those things were happening, had I not been so afraid, had somebody told me, Kiara, report this, Kiara, call the police, Kiara, there are bruises on your body, take photos of that shit. Had I just known that it was okay to go to police, I don't think that this person would be walking free. Because as I sit here now, the justice system is not working in my favor. The justice system, if they can't physically see abuse, if there are not photos, it's not happening. If you don't report it, it's not happening, and it never happened. And trying to prove that there is mental and emotional abuse happening is, you can't. No matter how much therapy that you're going to, it's not something that you can prove. And that has been my biggest struggle, honestly, since leaving, is proving that that is what's happening. So if you're going through any of those things, please report it. Reach out. Even if you just have one close friend, reach out, because these things are real. These things are happening, and these people, it's hard to get away from them, but when you do get away from them, it is a beautiful thing. And you know what? Life, it has been hard. These have been the hardest years of my life. She's calling again. These have been the hardest years of my life. These have also been the most character building years of my life. I feel like such a badass woman. You can't tell me shit. I am raising a beautiful, badass woman. My daughter is better than me at 5 than I ever could imagine. This girl, she knows what boundaries are. She don't mind saying no. She is very upfront about what she does and does not like. Because I will tell you one thing. I do not talk about my ex in front of her. Mom always said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it. So I don't. In front of her. I don't say anything in front of her. Her decisions, her conclusions, her energies, her thoughts, her words are strictly her own. So I want her to be confident in trusting herself and her gut. Because growing up, I wasn't secure in that. I was always second guessing and doubting myself, and I don't want that for her. My lessons that I have learned up until this point are things that I pour into her so that she is confident in who she is when it's time for her to go out on her own. But also I want her to know that I also trust her, that I also trust her decision making, that she has a friend in me, and that this space that I provide will always be a safe space for her. That there is not one conversation that we cannot have, and that she is aware that she deserves the absolute best that life has for her. Leaving a narcissist, leaving my marriage was the best decision I not only could have made for myself, it was the best decision I could have made for my daughter. I tell this person because unfortunately I live in the same city as this person still. I look forward to not having to be 15 minutes away, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, because there's still so much healing that I need to do, because I still feel extremely unsafe. My anxiety and my depression, I still have my moments, obviously, because it goes away for some people. I don't know if it's gonna go away for me one day. I do hope. I do pray. I do hope and I do pray, because I wouldn't wish the tug of war on anybody. Like anxiety and depression, like they be fighting every day because both of them want to be in the front seat, whatever. But it was literally the best decision I could have ever made. And just understand that if and when, because I'm believing that if you're watching this and you need confirmation that you need to leave, this is your confirmation, sweetheart. Whether you are a man or woman, non-binary, no, you don't identify with anything in particular, you're on the spectrum. If you're in a narcissistic relationship, you need to leave. But understand this, especially when kids are involved, narcissists do not take rejection well. Before I left, this person was like, if you decide to leave, I'm going to make this extremely hard for you. They looked me in my face and told me this. I'm going to make this extremely hard for you. So all of the things that they do now are to make me miserable, to to make me have a reaction. This stuff is it's pre-planned. It's the way that they maneuver because there is something wrong with them. Narcissists, they cannot be fixed. So if you're like, oh, I can make it better, you can't. There's something wrong with them, and you have to free yourself. And dude, you just have to get out, mentally prepare yourself, because if there are children involved, it is going to be a battle. Honestly, even if aren't children involved, it is going to be a battle, because it's going to be your mental health versus the shit that they have told you for however long they've been telling you. So equip yourself, detach yourself, surround yourself with people who love you, people who admire you, people who are going to build you up, people who are going to help you hold yourself accountable, but also love on you, and remove yourself, because narcissist plus abuse, those are things that nobody should have to deal with. And even though I am mentally and logically aware that this person's issues stem from their own background, I don't have to deal with that shit. I decided that I was not going to deal with that shit. And you can also decide that you're not going to deal with that shit, no matter how much it hurts, because eventually the pain from leaving is going to go away. But if you stay, that pain is only going to get worse. So also big shouts out to my cottage, my village of people who love me, who have never endingly supported me on this journey, the people who read my posts, who have prayed for me and my daughter and my safety, who have supported me, the people who told me that the shit that I was going through actually had a name to it, the people who have held me while I cried, the people who have, you know, just because it's been a story on my Facebook, because my Facebook is private. So people have been hearing about this, but truly nobody knows like the depths of the darkness that I had to endure while in that household. We're not done fighting. But I tell this person that despite what everybody sees, despite what you show people, despite how friendly you come off, God sees everything. And God don't play about me. My ancestors don't play about me or Carlotta. My spirit, the spirit realm, the hold that they have is something that is not to be fucked with. And I mean that in the most humble way possible, but it's still my biggest flex, because I don't care what it looks like. I might lose a couple battles, but baby, there is not a war that I have lost. And that's never going to happen, because when you do good, when you do things with the righteous heart, there is no way that you can lose. I want to end this here. I do think that there will be more talks about this, just not pertaining to the marriage itself, but how I have healed. I would like to talk about that more. But I'm so thankful if you've watched the entirety of this video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for everything, for loving on me. Feel free to reach out to me on my social medias. I've had a lot of people reach out to me in regards to being in these type of situations. If you ever have any questions, need anybody to listen, I am here. I love you so much. You are worthy. You are loved. You are valuable. And you matter. You matter so much. And yeah, I'm going to end this here. I love you so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Love you. Bye.